Hello, Full Sail University. This is Nicholas Lane, and this is my video on our coming up with a conflict resolution policy for a possible company. I was researching this topic. I kind of went around the internet and kind of looked at the the actual policy, the manual policy, and that was found in manuals of various companies. Looked at a college. I also looked at private businesses and government agencies, and I found them to all be fairly similar in their structure. And so the one I have come up with is based on those findings. Um, the policy that I would how I would word it, or for the company I would work for, if not my own, or maybe in a company I end up working for, the conflict resolution policy would be or maybe used when an employee believes that he or she has been personally adversely affected by an action taken by another employee of that particular company, and it would come under certain matters, like for example, like in promote areas of promotion, retention, maybe layoffs, performance evaluations, raises in pay, and disciplinary action, just to name a few. I mean, this is not an all-inclusive list of what it would be used for, but those will probably be the majority of the majority of issues that would be used if this needed to be action needed to be taken. And basically what I found in my research is that basically there's three stages, and so following along with what a lot of companies and government agencies and businesses have come up with, I would also have come up with a three-tier process. Um, the first one would be where the person who is filing a grievance would meet with their immediate supervisor to see if anything can be resolved, you know, at you know at that level. If kind of go over what issues has prompted this action, and maybe see if the supervisor could come up with amicable solutions for that would work for all parties involved. And hopefully, in most cases, the policy would this would be the area where things would get resolved the most in the first step. I think, in my experiences, is that a person is really all they're looking for is a forum where they can freely express their concerns of how they are treated in the workplace. And so, if they're given an opportunity to make their case, so to speak, if there's something that's happened to them, that they would be free to discuss to their boss what it is that's grieving them, so to say. And so, hopefully, that all issues will be resolved at level one. But obviously, not everything not all these things are done in a vacuum, and so additional steps and additional processes uh, uh, would be necessary. And if amicable resolution wasn't resolved in this first process, that the grieving employee would make a formal complaint in writing stating what their grievances are, and basically a formal document, a notarized document, or whatever, with all the issues involved, and that would be handed over to the immediate supervisor for them to review and to come up with any resolutions to the problem. And there would be a timeline, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever is works, whatever would be in the best interest of the company. And so, obviously, if the supervisor for whatever reason did not address it formally, didn't give a proper response, then the employee would be allowed to proceed to the next step of the process, and that would be taking it up with, say, a department head. If you're working in a large company, if it would go from their boss to their boss's boss, basically, and they would review the situation that has been brought up, and basically the department head would make a judgment of which action can or which should be taken, and the department head would issue a formal statement of findings. And if the employee, and again, if the employee didn't agree with the department's head judgment, then they could take it up with the head of the company, basically the CEO. And either I've seen where the CEO would, the examples I studied, particularly there was a university in California. I think it's probably applied because it was to all University of California campuses. The one I looked at in particular was Cal Poly Pomona. That the CEO, or in that case, the president of the university, would A, make a decision, or B, would form a committee to review the case and all relevant evidence. And of course, this would be the final stop. There would be no, this would be the final judgment, so to speak. That if it's the CEO's, if it's left up to him, or if he decides to recuse himself and have let's say, form an independent panel of different, people throughout the company to review the case, then basically you would have an arbitrary hearing where both sides would probably present their case to this panel, and they would take in consideration all the evidence, and based on all that evidence, they would make their finding, and whatever that this panel would come up with, whatever the resolution, that would be the binding, that would be it. There would be no other avenue, so to speak, for this grievance, unless, obviously, if you're talking about maybe certain rights being violated, then there might be cause for to seek an additional remedy elsewhere, maybe court or whatever. But as far as the companies goes, as far as this would be the final stop, and for me, I think it would be paramount that if an employee used this process to resolve a dispute, that there should be a policy stating that no reprisals will be taken against that particular person making the claim. Basically, if an employee makes a claim against another employee, then it would not be lawful for that person to retaliate, so to speak, to make things more uncomfortable for the worker. And if somebody did take actions against the person who filed the claim, then that person would be subject to disciplinary sanctions, possibly losing their job, or suspension, or whatever guidelines would be. But I think you have to create an environment where the employees are free to air their grievances without fear of retaliation, or made to feel uncomfortable. And it should be obviously based on strict adherence to confidentiality, that nobody else would know what's going on. It would just be between the supervisors and the parties involved, so to speak. And also obviously the human resources personnel. But I think this would be the best way to for a company to come up with a conflict resolution policy, as far as I'm concerned, this was, the most prevalent of all the places. It obviously was somewhat limited, but I did research, about 4 or 5 different organizations, different types of organizations, and all their policies on conflict resolution was very similar to what I proposed, and so I think this would probably be the best, would serve the best interests of everybody involved. And once again, this is Nicholas Lane at Full Sail University, and this has been my conflict resolution policy video. Thank you, and good night.